think it's important to realise where Mirror's Edge began. It was a first-person shooter that didn't focus on shooting the enemy, rather traversing buildings and obstacles and getting from point A to point B. The city was your playground. You can play— oh my god. Why do you have to message me? Like I was saying, the city is your playground, and you run and jump and leap and, you know, you go through this massive and new environment, and it was amazing. It was new and creative, and we were all kind of happy with it. And we did want more. We really wanted more. And it took years for us to get that wish. Let's take a quick look on what I would have been like on E3 2013 when this new Mirror's Edge game was announced. You know, I'm just so done with EA right now. As a consumer, they just have some really bad practices and... oh, this actually looks interesting. Oh, okay. There's a tattoo. It's like some underground thing. What? No. Oh my god. She just fucking like kicked that dude. Oh my, no, wait, no. Oh wait, this is gonna be so amazing. Obviously, I didn't just spend 10 minutes recording a fake reaction to a trailer, how I might have been before. But, I mean, it kind of embodies what I was feeling about the game. I was excited. I think a lot of people who had a passion for Mirror's Edge were excited. And now we're here. Mirror's Edge Catalyst is a game. And I'm not going to say it's a good or a bad Mirror's Edge game because I really don't know myself. And a lot of people that I've spoken to and I've seen on the internet, they have mixed feelings about this. They conflict with each other, and I kind of agree. I don't know how to feel about this game. It's certainly a fun game, and the abilities and the running and everything just feels so natural and fluid, and the combat is very nice. The new areas that they've introduced are gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, they are gorgeous and they are so lovely to look at all the time. You know, I never get bored looking at the scenery of this city. It's just, it looks so amazing and it's presented in such a good way. I think the addition of an open world kind of made the game lose some of its charm, and now it kind of feels like the game is missing something. So I think I'm going to break down what I liked and what I disliked about Mirror's Edge Catalyst. A couple of things I liked about Mirror's Edge Catalyst was the combat and the running and just anything mechanical of the game I really thoroughly enjoyed. Every hit that Faith did felt like it hurt the person, not Faith. And the running was just so fun. It was just fun to run across the city, and it was fun to just explore and see these amazing new places. And I absolutely love the presentation of some of these places. Like, the View is literally my favorite place. Well, one of my favorite places in video games, because it's just so pretty and the aesthetic is just so beautiful and clean, and I love it so much. But now I'm starting to struggle to think about what I enjoyed about the game. A game like Breath of the Wild, I can just list and list and list all the things that I loved about the game. But unfortunately, this is where this section ends, and it's really upsetting to like say that or even think that, because this game had so much potential. But in the real world, we cannot measure how good or bad a game is by how much potential it has. So we're going to have to move on to the next part now, the things I disliked about Mirror's Edge Catalyst. The game likes to decide when it wants to work.
This better be worth it. What happened to your family?
They're in the Greylands. Why?
How come you're not with them?
I can't stand my sister. She's an idiot. Do you have a sister?
No.
Once you get through the fan system, you're at the main server stack. That's the heart of KrugerSec in glass. I wish I could be there.
So saying this, the game is actually surprisingly glitchy, and I don't know why. I mean, it's a AAA game and it only came out a few years ago, and it's surprisingly glitchy for what it's meant to be. I think the introduction of the open world kind of makes the game a bit more sour. I think that open worlds are good, but only when they're done right, and at the time of the first Mirror's Edge, everyone loved open world games because, well, it was a new thing. But now that every game is like open world, we're kind of not interested anymore. Plus, on top of that, I think the linearity of the story mode missions are actually the best part of the game, because there's going from A to B just like in the first Mirror's Edge. But when you're in the open world just navigating the space, it's really difficult to navigate the space because there's nothing memorable about the space, and there's nothing memorable about where you're going. I mean, you might remember some bits, but it's really difficult to navigate the terrain without the runner vision. And talking of the runner vision, you pretty much need either the classic or the full version of it, because, I mean, you're not going to be able to navigate this space effectively. You're just going to be following some red box or a wisp like a fucking herd of sheep. Wake up, sheeple! There would be so many occasions when I'm playing this game where I would just get lost. And to be honest, getting lost in a game isn't really that fun. I mean, yeah, you get to see new environments and you get to explore a little bit, but I would just be mindlessly running around this space because there's, again, nothing memorable about the space. And do you remember what I said like 3 seconds ago about following the red things? Well, this is just an example on the screen about how I'm just following this red door or this red box because I have no idea where to go because the space is not memorable. I think that can be inherent of any open world game that you play, but I also feel like they should have made changes to the open world formula so that we could sort of understand and navigate the space ourselves in a much better and efficient manner. Okay, so besides the open world, what else do I have quibbles with? I mean, yeah, the mechanics are great, and surely that's the basis of any good game. But I feel like we need to address the elephant in the room, and that is the focus bar. You can see the focus bar in the bottom left, and the focus bar basically builds up focus as you're moving through the terrain or beating up guys or whatever you do. And if you stop, it starts to depreciate. When your focus bar is full, then you're invulnerable to bullets, which is, I think, a good addition to have in a game about free running. But now your entire momentum is based on this bar, and there are frequently times where you lose this momentum. Like now, when just climbing a ladder or a pipe or something, you just completely lose it all, which can really be detrimental when you're up against people in a combat scenario. Plus, they decided to add this shift option thing where you press right click or whatever it is on consoles and you like sort of push yourself forward. And as much as I'm using it, I don't think it's a very good idea because Mirror's Edge was all about momentum and you had to take time to build that momentum, but now you can just right click and you can just get there in a second. It's like a fucking microtransaction. It's nice when you finally build up that momentum and you can see the focus bar just sort of shift and everything kind of gets brighter, which I think was a really nice addition now that you see like the city in a more vibrant way. But your whole game now revolves around keeping up this momentum, whereas before, you know, you could just start and stop wherever you like and not have to worry about this focus bar. And especially when you're in a combat scenario with KrugerSec, the bad guys or whatever, then, you know, you start to look at this bar instead of focusing on the combat. At least that's what I felt like I was doing. Now maybe we should move on to the story, because I think the story needs addressing. It took a really long time, for me at least, to get invested in the story, at least slightly, because everything just felt really forced. Like all of the emotional clashes and conflicts, they all just felt really forced and so by the book. It's not until later, you won't see it in this video, but it wasn't until later in the story where I felt actually kind of invested in the cutscenes. I just want to run, that's what I want to do. You can tell the story as you're running, instead of just having to stop everything for a cutscene like this.
I've seen the news. Faith, I'm sorry.
No need to pretend.
No, but I am. Look, Noah and I may not have seen eye to eye, but I did respect him. And your parents.
Noah said you were part of the same group.
Yes. We were. Till I realized that there's no peaceful way we can rid ourselves of the conglomerate and the families behind it.
The story is about Faith, and she just got out of prison, and, you know, she's whatever. She's, like, legendary or whatever, like, oh my god, Faith, hi, how are you? She's like fucking Link at this point. Anyway, she starts running and getting into trouble, and then she steals something from Kruger, and Kruger's a guy, and he's, like, a big corporation guy, and he's, like, in control of the city or something. And now we have these, like, extremists who want to blow everything up for the greater good, and Kruger's like, oh my god, you're all so bad, and then Faith is like kind of in the middle, but she's not really, because she caused all of this, but she also didn't. And you have a sister. I don't know. You really think I'm one to pay attention, especially if you're a person who is actually reviewing this thing or something? Not that story is the most important part of a mechanic-driven game like Mirror's Edge is, but because, well, the developers thought that story was important and integral to Mirror's Edge, that, you know, it was just kind of forced in, and I'm not really a fan of it, but I'm also not a fan of the first Mirror's Edge story, because that was also very by the books and very predictable. Story is good and it can add context to the world, but I think a lot of it is unnecessary. Like Faith's backstory in this new rebooted era, I don't care really. I know that she's a good runner because everyone talks about that she's a good runner, so why can't I just run? I think the story could have been forgiven if the characters weren't so forgettable or annoying. Noah is one of these people, he just won't— oh, I accidentally hit a spoon. He just won't shut up. Like, he just keeps talking and talking and talking, and then they kill him off. Spoiler alert. But they just kill him off, and I don't really feel invested in him because you only see him in about 2 or 3 cutscenes, and he talks about how stupid you are for stealing stuff. And then there's that guy called Icarus who wears a hoodie, and he's just like this guy who wants to be as good as Faith, I think. I don't know, but he's basically like an anti-hero to Faith. He's just like, oh, I hate you, Faith, but I don't really. And then like they start growing attached to each other over the story, and you're just like, why are you growing attached? You guys are just like hate each other, and you just keep spitting into each other. Then there's that guy like Willis or something, I don't know what his name is, but he's just like this other runner that Faith likes or something, I don't know. And he's kind of like nerdy. He's a bit like that guy from Life is Strange, the friend of Max. Then there's Dogen. He's sort of an antagonist as well. He's like this by the books loan shark guy. And then there's Kruger and his daughter Isabel, and it turns out like Isabel is his adopted daughter, and it turns out that Isabel is actually your sister. Again, spoilers or something. There's Plastic, and she's good with computers or something, and that's pretty much all of her character. Oh, and she doesn't like her sister. And then there's that Black November woman who wants just to blow up everything, because why not? All the motivations of the characters just seem so by the books. They seem so boring and bland. There's nothing memorable about them. All that I know about Noah is that he likes to talk a lot, and he likes to scold Faith even though he really likes her. And all I know about Faith is that she has this ridiculous backstory that which I don't care about. And again, I hit my spoon. And she has a sister who's not her sister. Turns out she was like brainwashed or something by Kruger, because now she's in love with the idea of the conglomerate. Which, by the way, that sort of whole conglomerate ruling class thing is just kind of really ham-fisted as well, and it's really off-putting to the story. I've heard it all before. This is not fucking Animal Farm. I think the awkward thing about this game is that everything else, besides the running and the jumping and everything else, it's just so subpar, but the running is so good it kind of evens it out to an okay game. It's an okay game. It doesn't feel like Mirror's Edge, but it also does. And I think that's what the problem with this game is. It's just so in the middle with everything. It's so on the fence, and everyone feels the same about the game, that they're so indifferent or on the fence about it because they don't know how to feel, because the game shows off this on the fence feeling. And I really don't mean to roast the game because I absolutely love running around the space, even though I get lost all the time. But I just can't help it. I can't help have these quibbles with the game because, well, it was something important to me, and now it's kind of not the same as it was, if that makes sense. And here's one last final thing that I disliked about the game, and it can be summed up in 2, maybe 3 words depending on what you would class the second word as, but it's scanning grid print. There are these cameras dotted all over the city that like scan your grid print or something. I think that's for the normal people who just hang out on the rooftops for some reason. But it is so annoying after about 30 minutes of playing because all you hear when you're running is scanning grid print. I think that would be enough talking about what I disliked about Mirror's Edge Catalyst, because I feel like I could still keep going on, but I could always come back to the conclusion that this game is okay. So I think I am just going to talk about the conclusion right now, and I'm going to end this video because I've been joining on for over 15 minutes and you probably am sick of me right now. Overall, I feel really indifferent about Mirror's Edge Catalysts. Sometimes I feel like it's a good game, and sometimes I feel like it's a bad game. Stop hitting my spoon. And there are so many quibbles I have with the game, but because of those mechanics and the running and the jumping and the combat, it just feels so satisfying. It makes up for it in an equal way. So there's like 8 problems, and there's 2 good things about the game, but because those 2 good things are really excellent and well executed, it kind of evens out. And I think a lot of people might feel the same way with me because it's an okay game. I think part of it was all of the hype train around the game, because obviously hype can ruin or make a series. Like, take The Last Jedi for example. The hype train kind of gave people rose-tinted glasses, you know, and I feel like I've kind of been affected in the same way. I was so excited for this game, and it just didn't live up to my expectations. Although in some places it also did. And for the record, I like The Last Jedi, and please feel free to send me death threats. I think Mirror's Edge Catalyst lost the simplicity that the first Mirror's Edge had, but I also think that it added this kind of extra beauty, and there's a lot of things that the game does right and it does wrong, and unfortunately it just kind of makes it an indifferent experience.
So, there's a fighter in you after all.
Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and this is like the first time I've actually done this speaking kind of video essay, so let me know what you thought of it. And if you didn't like it, then hit that motherfucking bell, guys. Hit that motherfucking subscribe button. Let's go. Let's do it, boy!